So today we're going to be showing you how to do a curly hair install.
As you've seen in past videos, you have to wash the hair unit before installing it. This will allow you to have a smoother transition when it comes to installing. Remember, in order for you to get that picked out hairline look, you definitely want to trim a little lower than where it starts. You're going to go in with your X-Acto knife.
So like always, we want to make sure that we are going to fade the sides first before we even get to the install. That just lets us know what we're blending into before we even put the unit on. So he's going to do more of like a mid-drop fade. I'm going to be sure to really keep a lot of this natural hair on top, just so it's going to be so much easier to blend into from the natural hair. Now that the fade is done, it's time to make our bald perimeter up top. I'm going to find where his head naturally rounds and see where the corners meet. That's gonna give us a guide to where we're gonna start our bald guideline. And we're gonna go with the curvature of the head, the hairline, and we could always adjust it as it is gonna be the guide where the hair unit is gonna lay. And remember to ask your client if that's where he wants his hairline, because we could always adjust it. So you might have to go back and redo it a couple times. Product's gonna be the Walker Tape Scalp Protector. It's gonna be great for oily skin. It's gonna protect him in hot and humid weather and protect his scalp from any irritation from the glue. Same thing, it's gonna be 3 spritz, 2 layers.
The Ultra Hold glue is our last step when it comes to prepping the scalp. You want to ensure that you have an even spread all throughout. Remember, you want to add 2 layers of glue on the scalp. You want to make sure that you make long and even strokes throughout the scalp. So you want to start from the beginning, from the front, all the way to the end, and try to just drag it all the way across. This is because you don't want it to get clumped up in one area.
So now that the glue is all prepped, we're ready to install the unit. Make sure that we have him tilt his head back, and I'm really gonna focus on the front hairline portion, and we're gonna line up exactly where we placed that glue. We're also putting pressure on the unit as we lay it down. I'm making sure there's no air bubbles, no creases. You can see all the extra that's hanging over. This is the part of the membrane that we're gonna trim. We don't wanna use any expensive scissors because we're gonna be cutting through this thick membrane, and it could also come across glue. We don't wanna mess up your expensive scissors. Remember, I'm only using the tip of the scissors. I'm really trying to just cut the membrane. I'm not trying to cut the hair that's attached to it. And then to refine it, we will use the middle of the blade, and I'll show you here in a second. That way we're not cutting into the hair on top of the unit. So you can see that we just followed the guideline as we cut the membrane to follow this shape that we created with the trimmers. So now it's a perfect shape to fit. And remember, we want the glue attached to the scalp and not the hair. Now we're gonna secure all these areas down with the glue. We're gonna use our smaller spatulas for that and use just a tiny amount of glue. I'm gonna lift up the membrane, and you just wanna slide just a little bit of that glue in there. Let it sit for a minute. Then you could come back with the spine of your comb. So we want to make sure we secure all the ends around the head. Now that we trimmed and secured the hairline, I want to make sure that I clean up any glue that might have got on his forehead. So now that everything's secured down, we're going to drench the hair in water, and we're going to get it ready to layer and blend the top. Make sure when you're spraying the water, you want to spray it from the roots down. That way it saturates the hair a lot easier. Now we're ready to section off the top so we can start with layering the hair. This is a super important part of the install because it's gonna help the blend from the unit hair to the real hair. So I'm gonna start with sectioning off the front just so we get this part out of the way. I'm gonna use the curvature of his head. Just be careful as you're combing some of the unit's hair. The front hair, we're just gonna twist it, and we'll put a clip in there to get that out of the way. What will also help control the hair as you're sectioning it is to add in a really good leave-in conditioner. This will help you grip the hair a lot better, especially curly hair like this. So now we're gonna start with our first section. We're gonna take the first tooth of the comb, help us grab a small section of hair from the top. And make sure it's not too big of a section. And we're gonna comb that straight down. And again, be careful to leave everything at the corner here that wants to lay in the front. We wanna make sure that that's sectioned off separately. We don't wanna cut into the front at all. So normally at this point, we would start cutting and blending right here, but because his hair is shorter on the ridge and it's not as long to form his natural curl, we want to blow dry and straighten this hair out to get it to blend even better into the sides. If we were to just cut it right now as is, we would have this curl. It wouldn't blend as well into the shorter hair on top, which is more straight. So now that we have the hair straight, I'm gonna pull straight down. Again, not too much tension. And we're just gonna cut straight down and straight across. Remember to follow somewhat of a curvature to his head shape. Now we're gonna jump to our razor comb to finish the blend, and we're gonna use the long side of the razor comb, not the short side. This side is gonna be a softer blend here. So we're gonna grab a section, go little by little, and really focus on just kind of the ends here. And you can see that blend's coming together little by little. You don't wanna use too much tension on this either. And so now we're all done with our layers on the sides, and we're gonna go into cutting the top. He's gonna go for a shorter, curlier style on top. Remember that you wanna take small sections every step of the way. So I'm actually gonna start in the front to cut the initial guideline, and we're gonna be able to follow that throughout the entire haircut. I'm keeping it a little bit longer than what I think because again, I could always go back and shorten it up, especially with curly hair when it's wet, always extends because once it dries, it's gonna shrink up. So you wanna be really careful as you're cutting curly hair. You don't wanna put too much tension when you pull it down. So now that the hair is cut and trimmed, we're gonna add in some curling products, some leave-in conditioner and a curling cream. And it's gonna really give us a true look on if we need to trim anything else off. And now you have it, a curly hair install.